everyone, going over to the plot. I've not been over for 2 weeks, so thought I'll nip over and have a look. Sun's out, it's a bit breezy, it's supposed to get some high winds and some rain this weekend, so I'll come and have a check, see if things have perked up now. I've had a bit of heat and a bit of rain. Also, I got asked a question about how I get into me net hoops. It's a question that keeps coming up, so I thought while I'm over here I'll do a bit more of a detailed sort of video on how I actually access the nets. So, there's only one other person down here today, to be honest. We shall, fingers crossed that nothing's horribly wrong. Oh well, it's what it is. There's a few look like they've abandoned the plots. Nothing's really got much bigger. Some potatoes are through. Last time I was down, they weren't actually through. Looking at some like bits of video from last year, and my spuds were well through by sort of start of June, which is only like 2 weeks away. Trying to get in my gate now. Really need to sort of fence that's fallen to bits. Right, so I'll turn the camera around and we'll have a look. I need to open the fruit cage actually. Otherwise now it's going to be out getting and pollinating. Right, I'll turn the camera around and we'll have a look. Bear with me a sec. Right, so like I say, spuds are like, they're coming through, but they're the Jazzies, Duke Yorks. I'm not going to bother hilling, yeah, I'm waiting for them to get up a bit more, you know, because they're coming out all sorts of angles. So I usually like sort of prefer to plant them and then hill them up as they start appearing, but because the plan was I wasn't going to get up here loads and try and concentrate a bit more on the back garden and try and, up here was basically supposed to be alliums and brassicas, so they kind of fend for themselves a bit. But things have grown a little bit, as long as I don't see any heads forming yet, because that'll be like shocking. That one looks like it's keeled over. I do have one spare Clapton left from this batch in pots, and the same with the Primo 2 and a couple of the broccoli, so I've got them with me, so I might actually get rid of that one and put another one in. Onions, how are these looking? Well, I can't see any big dirty gaps as such. Well, yeah, there's one there, a gap there. The ones that I planted out late, what are they like? They've not done great at all, them ones. They're struggling at home, to be honest, they're damping off a bit. Bristol, it's just one over there I think that's missing. But it is what it is. It's been a tough year so far this year to get started. Spring onions are doing alright. And the garlic seems to be standing. I'm a bit frightened to look at my broccoli, I'm a bit scared to see little heads for me. Primo 2, yeah, it's a bit small. Just get out me out of the light. This one here is a bit small. I say I've got a few of them. So, because I can't put them anywhere at home because I haven't got the net space, you know, to cover. I could sort of like try and really squeeze a couple in, you know, like in between, like a fibre dice thing there as well. We'll see. That's the Rigoletto. Because I mean, usually I'm harvesting this golden acre probably in about 3 weeks' time, but it's nowhere near. It just goes to show that cold April's really knackered things up a bit this year so far. But things, obviously the second half of the season should come to. No heads forming yet, but they are thankfully putting on a bit of size. So I imagine there'll be heads forming pretty soon. So as long as if they can double that size and then start forming a head, I'm okay with that. If I can get something that's sort of bigger than a tennis ball, that'll do for me. And then I get the next batch in. So we'll have a look in a minute how we're getting these nets. Just have a look at the asparagus. Because it's, you know, when you're not down for a couple of weeks, you've had a bit of rain, it soon starts to pick up. Even that's a bit sparing this year, but I think I'm going to get rid of the asparagus this year. I might keep these 5 crowns and put them elsewhere, or keep whatever crowns pop up this year and just batch them up somewhere. It's a bit of a mixed match, but these 5 are the same. I can't remember if these are Mondeo. I think there was a Pacific 2000. There was a purple one that sort of just completely failed. Strawberries have been terrible. So that bed's going to be for obviously me climbing beans when they come up. But raspberry canes, not doing great at all. You know, I've got a random nasturtium. You know, I did sort of have something else in this bed last year, and I thought let it sink and settle and then put some canes in this year. I just struggle here. I never used to struggle at the old plot. Just something here. So I might have to try and find a designated spot at home and do some raspberries at home. Plus I can pick them more. You know, so I've got a tape measure me today. I might have a measure up because, you know, I've got two beds there and it takes up quite a bit of area, that. So I could possibly fit 2 big beds in there and bring them into my rotation with these other four main beds. I mean, they're 5 foot by 10 foot. It's a bit squeeze, but you know, I could possibly get rid of half the strawberry bed and include that into the equation. Then I could probably get the 2 beds in. You know, what's to do with that? You know, you've got a few raspberries that keep failing, strawberries that are struggling a bit. You need to be up here picking because they're unprotected. You know, versus 2 big beds that I can, you know, quite easily get 50 or 60 brassicas in each. You know, I'll bring them into my potato rotation. And it just, I say it's an idea. I don't know if they're just not productive for that area of ground that's being used. So I might start some no-dig beds from scratch at the end of the year. So it's just a case of collecting things, all the straw, hay, and manure, whatever junk, and then when I compost everything at the end of the year, instead of putting it in the compost bin, shove it in the bottom of the bed and it can rot down in there, and then plant something in it next year that's not too dependent on it being really sturdy and firm, because it won't be quite spongy. But things like, you know, broccoli, and that'll be okay. I can sort of tread it down a bit. Depends if you have a wet winter, which you always do up here. You know, because I've got some wood left over, and I could probably use some of these. I mean, I only need ends, and there's 2 beds there. Really, I just need to widen these to, you know, 5 foot. It'd be great if I could get 2 identical. At least then my nets work on all the beds, apart from the 2 little ones down the far end. You know, but I mean, I could eventually convert them 2 beds down there and just link them together in the middle and have 1 long bed. Just options, you see. You know, instead of having loads of little beds. You know, because I can net. You know, I don't mind having lettuce and even onions under nets for a while. But I'm not going to be doing any weeding today. There's a bit of weeding needs doing in there, but nothing horrendous. I'll do that, and I'll probably come up in a few days. It was meant to come up, have a look, and assess if it's worth holding. You know, if it's worth feeling at all optimistic for this first half of the season. I hope the second half's better. It's been nothing but a struggle this first half, to be honest. Everything in pots is kind of doing okay because it kind of pamper it a bit, but it just needs to really warm up. But we're due a heat wave, so then you'll end up with droughts. And so, and these beds, the only sort of straw introducing again, because it's gone quite fine over the years and putting leaves in and everything. It needs some more that structure to allow airflow and drainage. Because obviously you start getting damping off problems, and because it can't drain properly, and with it being a wet plot anyway, and they're sunk down so they can take it now, and these beds are an inch higher than they were when I first put them in. So right, we'll have a look at one of these nets, how I get it off, and hopefully that will explain, because people say, you know, how do you get into it? You know, it's kind of reverse of what you built it in. You know, I don't find it difficult. They don't take up any room to store. You know, you can screw your net up in a ball and put it I put mine in a water butt so it wouldn't try and rot any seedlings on them. And then the hoops, you can just throw them on the membrane, or just throw them on top of the bed, out of the way. Or just, you know, tie them all together and stash them up against the fence somewhere, so they don't take up any room. And I mean, I couldn't have a pre-built net system to sort of just keep putting on the beds. There's nowhere to store them. As nice as it would be, you know, to have like a movable pre-made up hoop, but they're as made up as I can get them. You know, the plastics, you know, the same I've used for years. The nets are all pre-made, so it's just a case of, you know, pop the hoops on, fling the net over, peg it down, and it's done. You know, if the net's pre-made, I can pop one up in 15-20 minutes, and that'll do for the season, as long as I need that net there. Right, so we'll have a walk round. Which if we pick one, we'll pick the broccoli one. So where it's gathered together at the end here, there's a peg at the end. We'll go down this other end, and one peg there. Obviously I only have one sort of central support at one end. That just assists it, stops it rocking backwards and forwards. You don't have to have it, but I find if you get because it's quite exposed here, it can rock about a bit, so you know it's fairly sturdy that way on its own, and that way it's got a bit more support. And then it's just got two canes which are tied together, because I can't get 10-foot canes, but if you've got anything that's 10 foot, slate batten, anything like that's fine, whatever. You don't have to even have that, but I just have it because it helps to brace it all. You know, you got to think about if you get heavy snowfall, you know, it's got a bit of weight on it. So and they're just cable tied to these, so it kind of braces the hoops apart. And down each side, depending on what the net's like, but most of the time I get away with just two down the side, which are kind of spaced sort of like, you know, a metre apart. Nothing in the corners. Sometimes it's a little bit slack, you can sort of twist your peg around a couple of times and that pulls the net tight. So to access one side, you have to pull an end out. Well, to even access both sides, you need to pull one end out. You can pull. I mean, I'd prefer really to pull the one out with the central support on, because it just stops the net flapping in, if you know what I mean. So we'll do that. I'll reach down here, pegs under there somewhere. I always angle them so they catch on the edge of the bed. And go along this side, pull that peg out, pull that peg out. Bear in mind, I'm trying to do this one-handed as well. And then grab your net. You won't be able to pull it all the way up in one hit. Sort of come along, pull it up part way, come to this corner, pull that up. And then once you've got sort of it halfway up on each side, take it to the centre post, wrap it over again. Same with that one, pull that up, flip that over again. And there you go. And if you want to get in the whole net, you can leave that end peg in. You just do the same on the other side. And all I tend to do then is, you'll obviously have a bit of net dangling here. I'll just flip it over the top here, and that kind of holds that together there. And that's how I get into them. And to actually close them up again, it's just a complete reverse of that. Just pull it down. Don't bother pulling it around the side yet. Once you get so far down, then you can pull it over the edge of the bed. It's been fairly tight. It won't stop slugs, but it seems to stop the snails, because you can't get that big shell in there. And once you've got it down both sides, plug it your pegs, push that one in, and then push that one down, and then obviously you pull that end one up. Like I say, because of the edge of the bed there, because it's quite tight, that instead of pushing it straight down where it can pull up, I'll sort of angle it so it goes, you know, under the edge of the bed. And because it's like got these little barbs on it, they kind of hook on it like that, so it just helps it stay down. You know, that keeps it tight. I mean, it's not completely 100%, you know, proof, but I don't get any problems with caterpillars. Never have had. You know, unless if you get a hole, so it's like this little hole here, but it's got bits you can sew them up. So I might bring a bit of fishing line or something, you know. But you can put some. If you've got any old bits of net, just lob a clear silicone on there, press a little bit of netting on it, and that'll hold it. That's all that is. Clear silicone, piece of net pushed on it. Did that last year and it's fine. So it's not difficult. And they just work for me, these nets, you know. And obviously the video I made on making the net hoops has been popular. It's probably my highest viewed video, to be honest. So I hope lots of people are using them, you know, and finding them that they're not difficult, because I don't find it difficult. But sometimes, I don't know, some people just need that little bit of a pointer in the direction, and the penny drops and they think, oh right. So if you've not used them before, check back on my videos, probably a couple of years ago. I'll put a link in the description below for it, and that's how I make them. The one I made is slightly different because it's taller, and it just had an extra set of canes along the side here. So when you want to get in it, you just have to reach under the canes. You know, but you've got to think about when you're building it, don't put anything that's going to get right in your way. Things like Brussels sprouts need a taller net, so you don't really need to be getting in them all the time. The idea with these is it's fairly weed free. You sort of construct your net, plant your seedlings, cover it, and you rarely have to go in and weed, and then you harvest, and then you repeat that process again. You know, and they'll stand up through winter. So turn the camera, get the light a bit better. Right, so I hope that kind of helps. Say, a bit of a quick look around the plot. So I need to open my fruit cage, harvest some asparagus before it gets like trees, and then get myself off home. Because I've got some stuff to do in the garden. I'll pick some stuff, lettuce and stuff, and I'll probably do, because my nets in the garden are very similar to these, just a bit smaller. I'll probably, when I pull the nets back on them, I'll probably, you know, do some on that as well. Because my spuds are almost ready, but they're not going to be in the next video. They'll probably be another week or so, that I should imagine, because I'll do my leeks at the same time. I'll plant my leeks. So the next one after this will be probably lettuce and some more seeds. I need to sow some more brassicas and that, ready to replace this lot. But I'll see, I might bring another couple of bits of brassicas over and plant them in exchange. I don't know if I'm going to be bothered. So thanks for watching, take care, and I will see you in the next video. See you now, bye bye.